Hey everyone, this is Corine Lafont, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know how we do it here, always with gratitude, always with thankfulness. I am so thankful to be here for those of you who are my loyal viewers, fans, listeners, watchers, whatever. You will notice that I know you all are picky. Okay, you will notice something is different. And so you will say, oh, Corinne is in a different place. Yes, I am. Okay, I'm just temporarily in a different place. Everything looks around me a little bit different. Don't mind. You got to roll with the punches. And I am thankful to have Robert Plank here with me. And he's a fellow podcaster. And so we're going to be talking podcast talk. I don't know what that is, but podcast talk. So we hope that you'll be able to understand us. And let me tell you what we're talking about with Robert today. Grow your network with podcasting. So growing your network. How can podcasting grow your network? And why would you want to do that? Yeah. Let me tell you a bit about Robert. So Robert is the founder of Done For You Podcasting. He has a beautiful website that we're going to showcase later. He's a host of Marketer of the Day podcast and author of Why, What, How to, What If, WWHWbook.com. He has helped thousands of entrepreneurs create online businesses through 840 podcast episodes, 15 books, and 15 online courses. Imagine that. So I guess he's a wealth of knowledge, right? He looks simple. He looks humble. He looks easygoing. Yeah, is that what?
Maybe. Yeah,
Welcome, Robert, to Between the Lines. Is this what a podcast is supposed to look like? Easy, humble, laid back, chilling.
I guess so. But you can relate to coming across people that seem really arrogant and really pushy, and you think, man, if that jerk can get all this attention and all these followers and all these people like loving them, they must be doing something right. And can I apply maybe what they do, but in a more ethical and a better way, and still be my humble self, but still get some amazing results? So
Of
that's the
course.
goal, right?
Of course, and I believe in humility. My one of my values is humility. I don't have to pump my chest, talk about myself, my work. I let my work speak for itself, and not only that, the clients that I have, they speak for me. So I know that, for example, when I'm being interviewed, like when I'm a guest on a podcast, because podcasters like ourselves, we are also guests on other person's podcast. And like when I'm asked, what makes me different? You know, that's a typical question in the business community. What makes you different from everyone else? My response to that is you need to speak to my clients. I am not going to tell you what makes me different. My clients will say that. The testimonials, let them say that. It's not for me to say, because how do I come up with a response to say, well, how am I different from Robert? Well, he's white. I'm black. he's wearing he's wearing a purplish shirt. I'm wearing a black sweater. Does that make us different? Does that make things different? I don't know. How would you respond to a question like that? Like, what makes your podcast different, or what makes you on your podcast different compared to all the rest?
I would respond that I make things simple. And like
Yeah.
you mentioned, I have this book, Why, What, How to, What If, and I am all about following a formula, following a
Mhm.
template, and using that as a way to get a shortcut to your greatness, and to be able to say, well, I could sit down and I could hem and haw about the format of my podcast and think about all these details, or maybe I want to write a book, and what will I put on page 17? Well, what if you had a template that you use not as a crutch, but as a starting point to
Mhm.
get your really good knowledge out? And so pretty much everything I do, from podcasting to writing a book, is this formula here: why, what,
Why?
how
What?
to,
How?
what if. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically, when I have a guest on my podcast, like I'm on your show now, I start off by saying, why are you here? What's the problem? Like what difficulties would cause someone to tune in and listen to our conversation? And so we start with the problem, we start with an
Yeah.
attention getter, and then
Yeah.
I move on to what, and I say, well, I know that you have all this expertise. I know that you can probably tell us how to solve all kinds of problems, but I first need to go to preschool, right? I need to go to kindergarten. I need to go to first grade, and you need to
Yeah.
tell me some really basic, simple terms, and maybe even tell me what alternatives I've tried that have led me here. So don't solve my problem just yet. Tell me what we're about to do and what tools we will use. And then when we get to the meat of the interview, then I'll talk about solving a problem or about easy wins or about actions a listener of our podcast should take if they're
Yeah.
stuck writing a book, if they're stuck making a website. And then we talk about that, but we can't just end on, okay, congratulations, talk to you later. We give you some steps. We end in the what if, and we talk about the next steps, the possibilities moving forward, maybe like a homework assignment or a checklist. And so this applies to everything. If you're coming up with a book chapter, podcast interview, start with the problem, then move on to the tools we'll use, then solve the problem. And now that you've solved the problem, tell me what those next steps will be. And if you keep that in mind, everything will just flow, right? The book you need to write, the podcast conversation you need to have, it'll just happen. It'll be easy. It'll be fun. And you can authentically be yourself and then also make your guests look good.
You took me back to school. You mentioned preschool, high school. That is exactly the formula that I learned in school. You have to be able to answer the why, what, when, where, how, what if questions. Once you're able to answer that, you can write an article, you can do your blogs, you can approach a situation and come up with solutions. So you have the foundation formula there, back to basics. Back to basics. I remember my son telling me he had to write something, some sort of research paper or something for his school. And he remembered me teaching him that as a child. Answer the why, what, when, where. And it's basic. And a lot of people like to overthink, Robert. A lot of people like to overthink. And it's if you just sit down and relax and you go back to basics, it's all there. The answers are all there. But we're talking about growing your network. Who would be interested in growing their network? Why should they use a podcast?
Anyone who needs more attention about what they're doing needs a podcast, needs to grow their network, because you and I were talking, Corine, about how we're both humble, we're both grateful, but then we need other people to tell the world about how great we are. So there's some element of needing to step up and to market yourself or get other people to market you. And you can't do that just by sitting at a desk at a computer, not talking to anybody. You need to talk to some people. And I used to have to, get on a plane and go to conferences, and that's kind of different now. But in a way, it's better because now there's all kinds of people like yourself that we can talk to and communicate with. And so I think that everyone needs to have a podcast that is kind of based in their industry, but not limited to a niche, right? And don't just talk about the same exact topic, but have a wide, broad category, like how your podcast is between the lines. So you can have all kinds of varied people and you invite them on your show because you are doing them a favor. You are giving them access to your platform and your audience, but then you also become very memorable because think about how many people you come across on Facebook, LinkedIn, email every day, but then how many face-to-face one-on-one conversations do you have? I mean, I'll remember you in 5 or 10 years, Corine. I'll think back to this conversation, maybe not all the time, but I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember when I was on that lady's podcast from Trinidad and Tobago. So I think a really good first impression for anyone out there who needs more attention, who needs more friends, affiliates, people talking them up, even coaching clients or even mentors that they want to buy, start having some of these conversations. And so many people will just not have a conversation with you. But if you want to have them on your podcast, then that's a whole other thing because you're leading with value, as they say. And there are so many people that just would not even talk to me. But I said, well, come on my podcast. And now they can talk to me. And I've done things like we put out compilation book after compilation book where these are just these are books, and you know about compilation books, right, Corine, where there's a book and every chapter is a different person. So we have different people who have been on my podcast and we just had a conversation. I asked some questions. They answered me. We removed the questions I asked. We edit down, and then made it sound like them, but it's kind of, nice and refined and perfect. And so the podcast is a starting point for all these different things to have the conversations. And then afterwards, I've bought from them. They've bought from me. We've made compilation books. I post on social media again and again. The podcast is the place it all starts. And everyone needs a podcast. Business owner, entrepreneur, career people, just to kind of know these other people who will talk you up that you can talk up as well.
I have been encouraging persons to start their own podcast. I've even trained and coached persons to start their own podcast. And some of them are so fearful. A lot of businesses, I like how you said that, and I'm glad you echo that sentiment that I have about businesses having a podcast. It is critical. I find that businesses are not interacting with their audience. They come up with a product or service and they feel this is what they want without even asking, without even trying to get a feel from the ground up what is happening. Because without the clients, without the customers, without those people walking into your store, whatever it is, you have no idea what they feel, what else they may need, what are their pain points. And so, with us interacting as podcasters with other persons, you tend to generate even more ideas. You just like how you mentioned, collaboration. You build relationships sometimes for a lifetime. I've had persons come on my show more than once. They just can't get enough. They just want to come back on, and they want to work with me. They love the energy. They want to collaborate in some way, somehow. They even refer. So when you talk about building a network, look at how far reaching that has gone. Even if I just wanted to simply put my voice out or share my thoughts, because that is initially how some people may start. I want to have a voice. I want to share about something. I want to impact people. This thing becomes bigger than what you probably had the concept in your mind. Has that happened to you?
All the time, and I'm always thinking about like, oh, there's new people I can contact to have on my
Yeah.
podcast. I mean, any book that you read that really impressed you, or any website or app or platform or monthly service that you pay for, those are all companies that you can contact to have on your podcast. And if people out there, if you are already looking to network, if you're looking at online summits, if you're looking at conferences, why not look at all the speakers of a conference that you are attending or want to attend and contact all those speakers and get them on your podcast? If you
Mm-hmm.
have attended networking events or meetups in the past and you've gone there and handed out some business cards and got some business cards that didn't really lead anywhere, why not contact those people that you met at whatever networking event you were at and bring them back on your podcast? That way you have a deeper relationship, and that way this going out there networking that you're already trying is not going to waste. That way it becomes a long-term meaningful relationship, and at the very least it's results on Google, like what you have pulled up on the screen here. This guy Bear Wade, I just met him a few weeks ago, had him on my show. I don't know if anything will come of this relationship. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I'll buy from him or he'll buy from me, or we'll talk the other up, or we'll become affiliates. But at the very least, we will have a permanent listing in Google, a permanent page on my website. I'll be tweeting and Facebooking about it on
Yeah.
a timer forever and ever. I'll automate it. So at the very least, this guy, Bear Wade, if he attends 20 podcasts, now he has 20 new listings in Google and social media. And so podcasting is a thing that everyone needs to be doing. But as you said, Corinne, they make it too complicated. They let themselves get scared. They talk
Yeah.
themselves out of it. It's a shame. It needs to be simple. It can be simple. You can do it.
Yeah, yeah. I see you have a list of other episodes with different persons bringing such great value. And you have above here, click here to allow my team to create and manage your podcast. That's another discussion for another episode, Robert. I'm serious. Because that is another facet. And some people think that they have to have all their ducks in a row in order to make the podcast be successful or for anybody to listen. Just start. Everybody starts at some point and you just want to get it going. It could be raw, because I do it raw. I don't do edits to my show raw. And why I do it is to show people it's possible. I don't have to have a lot of technology, a lot of all these things flying in and out on the screen, to make it seem, oh my God, do I need to have this? Do I need to have that? Because when I was coaching persons to set up their podcast, and when I train people, that's one of the first questions and concerns they have. What sort of equipment do I need? And they're now starting off. They have never started a podcast before. And these are the questions. They're already coming with all the fears, the inhibitions, all the things they need to have when they don't even know how to manipulate or use it or have gotten into it. What is an advice that you can give the persons? And while you are talking about that, I'm going to try to get onto your other websites, because I did promise you I'm going to try and feature the other two.
Okay. My response to that is, if you listen to any podcast, and you should, or if you follow anyone on social media, or watch the videos, whatever it is, does it make you mad if they do or they don't have the fancy transitions? If they have sound effects, do you say, oh, I'm glad I'm listening to this show because of the sound effects? No, you're listening because of the content. And if anything, I would say that having all the fancy production takes away from it, because I don't know about you, Corinne, but sometimes when I listen to a podcast and if the music is too long or there's a big long buildup, I'm like, let me fast forward, let me get to the meat of it. So people
That's
are busy
right.
people are so busy these days. They're on their phone. They're coming and going. They're tweeting. They're on the WhatsApp or on the Snapchat. They're on the TikTok. There's a limited window of time. There's no
Yeah.
time to make it so fancy and add all the production quality. If you want to throw in music and things like that, that's why having a team running your podcast is super great, because we set up a chat room where it's just you and me and some people on my team. And what happens is you can record a podcast episode on your phone, in your car, or like a Zoom conference or a StreamYard like we're doing here. You shoot us the recording and then you say, go for it. And we add the music and we add the editing and we upload it. And it doesn't require you to spend all this time and doing all these things that don't add any extra money into your business. And it's okay to have humble beginnings, and it's okay to start off your show with episode 1 or 2 with just you speaking, and then you build it from there, and you can decide what you want to bolt on to your show as you move forward. If you want to add a sponsor or better music, those are all things that can come later. But you and I both know, Corinne, that there are always some unexpected events happening in life. Even you yourself are in an unexpected location today. So things happen. And if we make things too complicated, too fancy, too much work, then we run the risk of never getting off the ground in the first place. So the best thing to do, the best thing to do is record a podcast episode today if you can. Today or tomorrow, record it. If you don't have a podcast, open up your phone, hit the video button, 5 or 10 minutes, talk about you and your business, or talk about like your big idea, your best idea, things you see happening in your industry that get you mad, or even like your prompt earlier, what makes you unique? Tell me for 5 minutes about what makes you unique. And that is the thing that you can hand over to me and my team, and we can create a podcast. We can say, what do you want it to be named? We'll create some graphics and say, it could look like this or that. We could give you some little jingles and say it could sound like this or that. And if you say, okay, we'll say, all right, it's online. It's on Google. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on YouTube. It can be easy if you let it, but you have to start somewhere. So just start with just 5 or 10 minutes. How are you unique? Don't overthink it. Just do it. Just get it done.
I lost your websites. Give it to me. It's
www.dfypodcast.com.
dfypodcast.com. Let's have a quick look at that.
All right.
Yay.
That's
all
the
right.
place.
And that's you.
That's me. It's the same office and everything. And then there's the button up that says podcast production. And if you want to set up and run your podcast, that's the place to do it.
Awesome. And then the one with the book, remind me.
The book is WWHWbook.com.
Let's have a quick look at that. Awesome. And get the book on Amazon. And persons can get a preview of it. Awesome.
Yes, you can flip through, and I mean, and you and I both know, Corinne, this stuff can be easy. I mean, Amazon and Apple and all of them, they want you to be publishing content on their platform. To have a podcast, it's mostly just you upload an audio file. To get a book, it's mostly just you upload a Word document and it's done. It's free too, right? It's free to create a podcast as far as it being hosted on their platform, like on Anchor. It's free to have a book on Amazon. They just take your percentage. It doesn't cost $5,000, $10,000.
Of course.
We're living in the future. They want you to have a podcast and a book. They make it as free as they possibly can. You just have to know which button to click and what to upload.
Simple as that. And I mean, this is so simple to do. You can have the reason why I ended up going the online route, but besides my passion for technology, is because when I looked into the traditional form of radio, I was like, hell no, am I going through that route? I had to find my own sponsors. I had to, it's like, it was too much. The uptake on trying to plan and prepare, as opposed to 60 seconds. I can have a podcast up, set it up, get into studio and start. I mean, literally in 1 minute, I can just create an account, a free account, and be online just like that. It doesn't matter, and you wouldn't believe, you don't feel that, oh, who would want to listen to me? Just like when you write a book, who would want to read my book? You will not know who and who it can influence. Robert, thank you so much. Any final words before we close off this episode?
Don't make it so complicated. Don't let fear get in the way. Just do it. Don't think about it. Set a deadline for something small and quick that you want to get done in the next 24 or 48 hours. Figure out the exact time and date that you want to have your book title figured out, or the exact time and date you want to have one podcast episode recorded, not even published, just recorded. Figure out a time and date for what you want to get it done, and then just do it.
We got the internet has decided that it's time for us to come off. We were supposed to spend 15 minutes and we end up spending much longer. Robert, we just got thrown off there because we went past the 15 minutes and the internet was like, no, you're supposed to spend 15.
We broke the rules.
We broke the rules.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Robert, for being on my episode, and I look forward to being on yours and having a discussion as vibrant as this. Thank you so much, and continue doing the great work you're doing. All the best.
Thank you, Corine. All the best.